Hey everybody, welcome back to the DANCNG SOBR podcast. Thank you so much to our studio sponsor, Espacio 1839, for allowing us to be in here and recording this podcast. Don't forget to visit espacio1839.com. These episodes are free, so please hit the like button. Today's episode is with a local artist with a deep history in the East LA Chicano art scene. So let's give it up and welcome Arturo Urista. 5 seconds to just center yourself.
Yeah.
All right? 5 seconds.
Nuestra gente de nuestra tierra come through.
All right. Listo, pisto? Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the DANCNG SOBR podcast. And today we have a little nervous, but happy to be here, Mr. Arturo Urista.
Thank you, Rafa.
El profe. Welcome. We're going to get into some of you and your art and some of you being a professor or a teacher and your life and how art, worked in your life. But, like we always do in this podcast, we like to start with stories of the youth, like where you grew up, how you grew up, and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about where your young days were spent, the salad days, as they say.
Salad days. Well, the actual address is 3756 East Flora Drive. And if you walk down Flora and Gage 3 blocks away, it's 3801, and that's where Southhouse Graphics was.
Yeah.
So, I had, it was part of the City Terrace, but looking on, the south side. So I was able to see the 605 freeway. I could see Rose Hill Cemetery. It's a beautiful view on it. So I grew up there. I was the first one born there because my mom had, we were a family of...
What was the cross street? Was Rowan or Eastman?
The cross street was Flora and Gage.
Gage, yes. But you guys
then
were
there
up
was
on the
Eastman.
top then.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
There was Eastman, then was Rowan.
Yeah.
Rowan was that long.
I didn't know that from that side you could see all the way to the 605, all the way to Rose Hills. That's pretty cool, yeah.
It was a nice sight. I have stories like saying like, hey, there's a fire going on. I would say to my uncle Pilo, I go, come on, let's go, come on. And it was during the
What's riots?
No,
the moratorium.
The moratorium. Come on, we just go. Tio Pilo was working on his GTO, car, and he had no interest in it, but I could really actually see it. So I kind of grew up looking at that area, and then looking at this particular store called Safeway, which is now Cipriano. So, and then Catholic Church, not Our Lady of Guadalupe, and different areas. So I had that kind of perspective view.
Yeah, you had the south-facing Floral and Gage up on just a little mound, not too high, but...
My sister was the oldest, then my brother. And I was the third one, and then my brother came later on.
What years?
Okay, so I was born in 61. My sister was born in 57. And
I thought you were a lot younger. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but
no,
I thought we were the same age. No, you're 10 years my elder, my brother. Wow, you look good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that at that stage. It's like, I'm going to Catholic school, and I remember trying to figure this all out. It's like, why am I going to Catholic school? And
where'd you go? Lourdes?
I went to Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Lady of Guadalupe, yeah.
And when I went to Our Lady of Guadalupe in Hamel Street, then I started to figure out, like, hey, man, we got some rivals here. We got Lourdes, we got other things here. We got St. Felipe here and all that.
Not just the gangs, but the churches were rivals,
The gangs were like, fuck, the gangs were everywhere. The gangs were like, we knew because the Catholic school kids were out at like a half an hour earlier before Belvedere kids came out. And I remember just like when Belvedere kids came out, I was like, fuck it, hey. Just just a whole.
It was
riot,
a mass.
It was massive, just a massive.
I remember. I was one of those kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, I stood still. You know what? I cannot thank so much gratitude to my parents for sending us to Catholic school. But my mother did say, it's like, I told her, why Catholic school? You could save so much money at Belvedere Junior High or Hamel Street, right? She goes, that's what they told me when I came off. My dad arrived here first. My dad is an American citizen. Let's get that straight. My dad was born in El Paso in 1926.
Yeah.
By the time he was 3 years old, he was deported back to Mexico. So he grew up in that Mexican educational system.
Okay.
So by the time he realized, like, hey, dude, you know you can cross the border, you know? And so I have pictures of him, you know, in these stages of you know, where he's at Walla Walla, Washington, and I'm thinking like, hey, Dad, are you in jail? Or no, estoy piscando.
Yeah, working the fields.
We're feeling it. But didn't you know, and he told me, not until later on, that I knew that I had a free pass.
Wow.
So apparently, you know, my mother, you know, he met my mother. My mother comes by, and my mother comes in the late 40s, and they met up on Soto, in just East LA.
Yeah.
In 1958, they bought that house in 3756
Florida. Yeah.
And that's when I knew, like, okay, so my dad's working, you know, as much as he can, and my mom's raising us, and I'm the third child, and we're in a small room, and I noticed that there's another child coming in, and I figured, like, we're getting bunk beds, or we're getting somehow, our house is getting quite filled. So yeah, that's the way, you know, that's the way it went. We had bunk beds. I was the top. I was on the top. And I always kept looking out. I always kept looking outside the windows, like, I could count the heavens.
Oh, that's awesome.
And this beautiful walnut tree grew out of our area. We lived on this hill, in which one side was a ditch area where the cars would be parked, and my dad could do mechanical stuff to it. You know,
okay, yeah.
On the other side, it was all grass. So my dad was kind of a bit of a mechanic. He leaned into the mechanics. He spent most of his years as a welder.
Those little areas always used to have those little empty lots. And they're not there anymore, right? Like they built something on it or something. It all gets filled up.
Yeah, it all gets filled up. Yeah. But I remember, I'll tell you the story. Yeah, BB guns.
No,
right?
Please do. I love those stories. Yeah.
So it was just me. I remember my brother too. He got really scared. Hey, so just watch. So we had our BB guns ready, and then we would just shoot. Boom! You know, shoot at the cars, right?
Yeah.
Remember this one? Hey, this is an awesome car. Let's just like see what happens. Boom! And fucking stopped about like 10 feet away. And like, fuck, scare the shit. You know, look down. He's looking around. And it's like looking at his car. And like, oh, you know, then he got back in his car. Like, oh, man, you know, those things. You know? And also the ice cream man, right? Yeah. Stop. They would never know where they was coming from.
Yeah. That was a thing back in the days when we didn't have the internet. We would throw stuff at passing cars.
Yeah.
It was what you did. It was what every single kid did back then. I don't think there was a kid that didn't throw stuff at cars.
No, or we used to do what my dad used to do is when we were a bigger family, got us into baseball.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a big Dodger fan. And we had a lemon tree outside. Hey, how do we practice swinging the bat? Well, here's your lemons. And we would swing them, try to pass them over 2 houses down on Gay Street. Like, boom, boom. You know, and you know, that's how we
So you were saying your mom
like
wanted you guys to go to Catholic school, and she was like, for sure.
Yeah. When we decided, I guess, my mom was working, working half time. My dad was always working, and we all went to Our Lady of Guadalupe school, all four of us. It must be like my brother. I'm trying to remember how many are we? Four, because we have number 5 that's like 10 years older than me, right? And as soon as my brother went to high school, that's where I followed. So my brother was very smart, bright. He was into playing cards, computer. He was into how before the football games where you used to use the magnets and
Oh yeah.
My brother was into the ones that you had cards, you chased cards, you had cards over it.
Wow.
It was more strategic than the actual fun cards. So my brother was like smart way out there, and he was all into the PC programs, and so he got good scores, and he was accepted to Don Bosco Tech.
Okay. And that's where you went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of a discount.
What's that? Because once your brother's in,
hey, once our brother in, you could get a cheaper discount if your other brother in.
No way.
Regardless if he's stupid or not.
No way. That's pretty cool.
I don't know what grant it was when my mom kept writing the grants, and thank God that she was able to do it. I don't know with what. I'm trying to figure out who helped her out. She was very Spanish speaking. That my mother my father passed away in 2020 in July.
Oh, sorry to hear.
My mom passed away in August.
Oh my God.
And
this year.
It's hard to write about how the impact
my
mother has.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm just trying to figure out. But when she said one thing one time, she told me, Arturo. And everywhere, I was older, and I was walking in, and my parents, they were like socialites, they had a bar.
Oh, is that
they
right?
had a bar. They had, they had drinks and they had bars. So
Bar at the house.
Yeah, at the house,
Yeah.
and with a mirror and shot glasses and they were
They like to
socialites.
host people.
Yeah, they like to host people, and I never knew where that came from. So I figured, like at the end, as I'm learning more about the history of people, and understanding like my parents came from a good, wealthy, community. They socialized.
Yeah.
There's lots of pictures of my dad with a tie. My mom was so super gorgeous. And so one time I came in, and they're both smoking. So I was already older, so I go, Olivia, I would smoke with them. I smoked, and I think my mom just told me the truth. You know what, Arturo, I was never a perfect Catholic. I was always bent. I was crooked. I was just told to do what I was told to do.
Yeah.
Because they told me that was the best. And
Yeah.
I go, gee, Mom, thank you so much for telling me that.
Yeah.
Now I can really have a smoke with you and enjoy, this life, because I always thought, I had to follow these rules.
I
These
see.
Catholic rules.
Yeah. So how did, I'm imagining somewhere along this time during high school or before, how did art come into your life?
At Bosco Tech. In my brother graduated in 75. I came in 19. I graduated in 75. So yeah. I graduated from 8th grade in 75. He graduated from Bosco in that 75.
Okay.
So he left, and I had choices. My brother was a computer whiz.
Yeah.
He was into he was into the PC version of it. And there's stories about that later on, because that kind of affects my artwork. later
Okay.
on as I get into these nonprofit organizations.
Yeah.
So my brother learns how to just. It's just like a car. It's just like a mechanical car. You open it up, boom, boom, boom. You can put things in here, manufacture it, close it up, and do what you want.
Yeah, the PCs were made so that you could take parts out and put new parts in. But then when the Mac came around, you were not allowed.
No, you were not. So we
it,
had somehow we were able to get a batch of Nintendo 64s, and this was the time that I was going to Cal State LA. Learning art. I was learning, my first degree was business. And then I turned in business advertisement.
Oh, no way.
And I said to myself, I first went in there, it's like, I'm so sorry. I'm just sitting there, it's like, what the fuck am I doing with numbers? I want to do art. And they told me, well, you're in the wrong place. You got to go to the advertising.
Wow.
Okay, well, I'll go to the advertisement.
Wait, why did you jump into business in the first place? You just thought it was.
Like, hey,
this is what you do to make money.
Make money, right? So I get into the arts, and I figure, okay, there's bachelors of arts. Okay, so I just focus on that, and I figured like it was pretty good. I was able to do that. It was fun. I was able to meet so many different people at that place. And I was graduated that time. And at that time, I was also involved in the arts in LA. There was a place called LAVA, the Los Angeles Visual Arts Community. And I accepted. I was a tour guide. And one of the tour guys, I was, I had to learn these lessons, and we, I was basically trained as a tour guide. And one of the places I went to was where John Valadez had his studios up on 4th Street, right where streetscapers had their huge mural.
Yeah.
And I got to see all of John Valadez's murals inside the clothing store.
Yeah.
I went to go see his artwork. But the most impressive one is when I turn around and I see Daniel G. Martinez's work. And he's doing these hologram monster shit. And I think, fuck, here's another Chicano doing this work. So, I caught on. I figured, you know what? I'm going to stay into this mocha mix. I'm going to stay into this area where Harriet and basically hanging out at Gorky's, hanging out at those areas and see what's happening.
I missed the whole Gorky's thing by a few years.
Oh, Gorky's was awesome.
To go there,
and Senor Frogs and all those little area places where we would just like hang out and because it was open
Atomic
late at
Cafe,
night.
I'm sure you went to too.
Atomic Cafe.
Yeah.
There was one. Now when I graduated from Bosco Tech, I chose architectural design. Doing rulers. I can't do it as my brother does with math and shit like that. And I remember like electronic was the top, and it was like a list. And I remember that photography, was the lowest.
Yeah, it's the easiest. I keep telling people it's the easiest way to get into the art world. It
was the lowest.
It's like,
oh wow! And I figured architecture. I want to see what I could do with it. So I learned how to learn to draw using rulers.
Wow.
30, 60 degrees rulers. Tracing.
Yeah.
Learn the art of tracing.
Yeah.
Learn the art of, and I figured wow, this is amazing. So
that explains a lot of your shapes and lines.
A lot of my perspectives.
Yeah.
Because I really saw things where we had to make things, geographically higher. Here's a map. Here's these squiggle lines. Make it 3D. So I figured I have to cut and paste. So it was a lot. It was a lot of learning, and a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of sacrifice, a lot of work, and this was at 1980 I graduated, and I remember I was not the top of the list. But I remember getting a job at Ralph and Parsons.
Yeah. Wow.
So happy.
That's a big deal.
And I was
Out of high school.
Out of high school. My friend told me, apply.
Yeah. What was the position?
The reason why I couldn't apply, because I was too low, and Bosco Tech wouldn't recommend me. But he told me, you go.
Just go on your own, yeah.
Go on your own. So I went to another division, and they were doing piping. And this is the type where, I don't know if I can explain to you, where you have to draw it where it's at an angle going to another angle going to another.
Yeah.
3D effects. I was doing this constantly. So, and then numbers.
What is now done on computer-aided drafting is what you were doing by hand, with rulers and protractors.
Electric erasers. Electric erasers. Yes. I still get, people laugh at that. He goes, no, you're going to use that. You're going to use the electric, that's a handy tool.
Hell yeah. Wow. And so you got the job.
Got the job from 81 to 84. At the end of 83, the Olympics was coming up. I switched over to CAD. Okay. I was learning everything on computer.
Wow.
And that's where I got to
That's at the very beginning.
That's where I was learning the difference between PC and
Mac.
And Mac.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing that what you can do.
Yeah.
So and then I just felt like this working. I was the shift night. You weren't working. We're just playing around. All this stuff. And I go, you know what? This ain't for me. And at that time, the Olympics was coming up. Murals were popping up. And I just decided to you know what? I'm going to go back home because I moved out of my house, lived in Pasadena. Then I went back to my house. I begged my father to go back. And my father said, fuck you, give me $200 a month.
And that was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. And that's what I started thinking about. And that's when I started finishing art school. And I remember when you said that, I remember fuck, I just bought a frame for $200. That's a fucking lot of money.
Frame something for $200.
Yeah. I remember it was my last show at Cal State LA. I had 3 prints that I did at South Howard in using lacquers. I mean, we learned all kinds of stuff at Cal State LA. Taught you the best in lacquers, and I remember framing it. And I got good reviews of a professor that I loved. He was a very Arabic, and I remember he loved my work, and he goes, "Yeah, you're gonna be somebody." And I said, "Wow, you know what? $300. What can I do with that? I mean, that's just too much. I can't figure a Chicano doing that." And I kept going to MoCA, and I kept going to museums, and there was this one famous artist that wrote the letters of these 10 degrees of artists, and one of them says your first 10 years. You're going to sell to your family. You're going to sell your art to your family.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're going to push your art to your family.
Yeah, friends and family.
Family, friends.
Those are your first customers always,
Yeah, that's your first customers. I'm thinking to myself oh, man. You know
my family's broke.
My family's broke. And I'm writing all kinds of shit on my... I mean, I'm doing graffiti that's saying, fuck you, police, BH police. All this vanities all over the place. And I'm thinking no, this ain't going to work. So what I did when I finished doing my internship at Cal State LA, I had the attitude of saying, I'm going to be anti-art. If you told me to use archival inks, I'm going to use a highlighter.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell me to use a $300 per $10 piece of paper that I have to buy at some Standard Arts or something, I'm going to use newsprint.
Okay.
And so I did all my artwork, and I did not, and the thing I most regret, photograph it. But I kept it.
You have it still?
I have it.
Yeah.
So when I decided to leave because of the Olympics, I saw, Frank Romero painted his murals, streetscapers painted their murals.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get involved with it, So I leaped into it, and this is where I went down and met Sister Karen, 2 blocks down.
Wow.
To where I was.
That was your first time at Self-Help Graphics.
First time.
You just walked in because you knew that's where
I knew that she was Catholic.
Oh, true. Yeah, you had the connection.
I knew that I was Catholic.
You had the God connection.
I want to stop here right now because, I've been writing more than I'm doing art.
Oh, that's good.
And so I've been just reflecting on just the conversation that I had with this woman from 1988 to 95.
Wow.
And it was just it's just building up right now. So that's all I can say. But all I can say is, like, when I was at Self-Help, the deal was that, sister, you're nonprofit, you ain't getting a cent. I'm here, volunteer. I will do your bulk mail for you. That's all it is, just labor.
Yeah.
And since I had some knowledge on PC computers,
Yep.
I can put all this stuff in the
The
computer.
fun days of 1,000 envelopes, 1,000 letters that needed to be folded, 1,000 stamps, and you had to fold.
Rafa, it was from
Stuff,
800
stamp,
800 labels
fold,
to 500 written labels
Yes.
that had to transfer it to PNG typewriter.
That was a lot
and
of
they
fun,
get to
dude.
have this thing printed,
Yeah.
and then printed it on. I didn't have to use a stamp because it was already printed as a nonprofit.
And that's for every single event. Every single event, every single mailer. But the people that did that letter stuffing, mail stuffing, whatever you want to call it, at night, it was always a good crew of, like, the hardcore people that are always down, just like you're saying, like you were there for them, because they were there for you in return.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you're doing this, you don't know what the effect's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, you're just stamping, and like, oh, this direction. We just got to do this work and mail it out.
Yeah.
And then the other deal was, and this is where I'm trying to make this, conversation go on. The other deal is that I told Sister Karen basically, well, first of all, I told her right to her face, like, what the hell is with Self-Help Graphics? It's not Chicano enough, not Mexican enough.
The famous, it's
And I
not
told her right
Mexican
away.
enough.
She goes, yeah, you're right. Soaking away. You're right, Arturo. It's not, but the angles like it. We have Galeria Otra Vez.
Wow.
And I told her, I'll take that. So I took the realms of Galeria Otra Vez, and I just decided at that time, and this was a point, and I'm going to stop here because this was a point where I just finished my degree at Cal State LA with a bachelor's in arts, and I'm trying to decide, should I go for my master's in art? That would be so perfect. So I can be here as a maestro at Self-Help and all that. So my first freaking night on a Thursday, I'm sitting there, and, and all these blonde hair, white Anglo women are there.
Yeah.
The only Latino there.
Wow.
And I says, no, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
So I
Who are those people? They're just
They were
gallerists?
just, they were just like my husband's working, and I decided to do this as a hobby to improve my
At
craft.
Self-Help Graphics?
No, this was at Cal State LA.
Oh, at Cal State
This
LA.
is at Cal State LA for me to improve my
Got it.
my master's. I figured, like, if Sister Karen could see me as a master's,
Got it.
I have a holiday here, whatever.
That was your first day of school.
Yeah, but then when I saw that, I go, no, I'm a Chicano, and I know Sister Karen, and somehow, in some way, is pushing me to do other things.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I met my love, Maria Elena, and she was a nurse. She was still going nursing school, and I figured, like, you know what? I'm going to go back, get my sociology degree, date you, and I'm going to continue on with a degree in sociology.
Start a family, get my degree in sociology, and stay connected to self-help. Wow.
The elements of sociology to get that bachelor's was so fast.
Yeah.
That I had so much elements, and one of my mentors was Irene Bliat, who's a famous author in Arizona, and she was on my chair committee. And she says that, like, you got to get into deeper. You got to get into, what's going on in the Chicano world. It's visual, and yet you have to write about human behavior. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. So the deal with Sister Karen, at the final deal that I had Sister Karen is that, like, I'll take care of your book mill. I'll take care of Galeria Otra Vez. But please, I don't have time to be associated with any prints at all.
Wow.
Because I want to look at artists, and I want to see how they work. And since it would help me out in my degree in sociology, I told Sister Karen in her face, I'm going to go apply to work with Judy Baca at Spark. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. That's what she said.
She's like, there was no hatred.
Yeah.
There was so different people.
Yeah.
So when I go to Judy Baca, I met her, and she wasn't under my supervision. I was under another person's supervision. She just blew me away. She just blew me away. Judy Baca, Margaret Garcia were the two women to blow me away in the art world. They would just tell me straight out, this is what you have to do. You're not doing this right. But yeah, to work with Judy Baca, and I worked
as far as you're not doing things right, as far as business moves, or as far as
no business moves. I worked with Judy. No, with Judy Baca, I did get a pay, and I was working with Big Catwell, and we were called community coordinators, and what we did was we drove this out of those Ford 150 vans with a stick shift. I know how to drive stick shift. And we were driving down Venice all the way down to go pick up paint, not from Nova, because Judy Baca hated Nova paint. And I'm going to tell you why. And I want to tell you, because Judy Baca is smart. She goes, they never label what they have in their ingredients. That's right, sister. So I had to go somewhere out to go get Liquitex paint and then go deliver it to these artists. One to Alfredo de Batu, one to the East, streetscapers at when they were doing it at the Central City around there, the Culver City area. We did Roberto Delgado.
So you were
he was
dropping
smart.
off at the sites
where they were painting, and I got to see that. In fact, I remember going to Echo Park, dropping these paints off, and I'm going, here's Frank Romero. And I see this little girl. This is Sonia. And she's only 3 years old. Oh my God. Just like the history, behind, understanding their environment, where they work. And Frank Romero is one of my favorite. He's just a painter that can just pick up oils and just draw with oils. Yeah. I mean, I can draw with pencil, but this guy draws with oils. Beautiful work.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a little bit. I want to go a little bit back of when you started, what was it that started your political ideas? Because it seems like when you were in the beginning of all this, when you decided to be because you said you were trying to sell stuff to your family, but it was fuck the police or anti-establishment stuff. How did all that start within you?
That's interesting. I just gave it up. I kept on doing it. I gave it up, and I worked for Naleo,
No, I mean, how did the political stuff start?
Political. Okay,
Yeah.
Political started off. Number one was with the Catholic organization, Liberation Theology. They came out during the 70s in El Salvador, and then in the East LA community, it was this group called UNO, which was the unification of organization, very religious organization, but they fought active.
Wow.
Activities, and I thought, like, man, that's powerful.
Okay.
And you know, and just to relate it, that I really was confused when I would go see an exhibition, and I would understand why Native Americans and Mexicans will not like a community, you know, church and all that. I could understand that, but I could also understand that this was a place of congregation.
Yeah.
This was a place where I was like, well, I don't believe them, but let's talk about ourselves. This was a place of unification of ideas.
Yeah.
So I felt like UNO was like, hey, that's good. So the most important part was when I was dating, you know, my wife, Maria Elena. She was at Resurrection with Father John Mojera, and he was spiriting the no prison in East LA.
Yeah. That's the same Father John that's still there, right?
Yeah, same Father John. He married us.
Oh, really?
He married us. We make sure he blessed our kids, and I'm still associated with Resurrection in somehow way, you know. And so that was one of the things that I saw, like the positive sides of these religious organizations, the congregation. Yeah. It's like, let's get ideas, you know, don't get so don't wear a freaking tie. No, if I see you with a tie, you're out. When I see you with a tie on a Monday, you know, you're not in my world. You know, I don't know if that's my phone or not. But so, you know, I kind of like I would say, like, I took Catholic as a culture. You know, and when my son was a middle schooler, he told me, Papi, I'm an atheist. And I said, hallelujah. I will be an atheist with you too, mijo.
He said, thank God you're an atheist. That's hilarious.
And so, you know, because I could never break away from it. Yeah. But when my son said it, I said, I'm with you. That's the best thing we could connect with. Because even though organized religion is bad, but there is some good.
It's community, I guess, what you're saying,
it's
right?
Community.
It was a place where, you were able to connect, share ideas, and work together towards a goal, right? Mm-hmm. Besides the whole stand up, sit, kneel, pray.
Yeah. That's what, you know, what fascinated me about when I went to South Alp. It's like, here's this nun, and it's like, okay, we can do as much thing. That's what I would write. Fuck the police. I would do the most outrageous things I could. Do whatever. You know what?
Did she ever censor anybody? Mm-hmm. Do you know of anything like that?
I don't know.
Because there was a lot of religious stuff too, anti-religious stuff too.
I'm going to tell you this one story.
Yeah.
Omaño Campos. This is written in LA Times. Omaño Campos. I saw him at Cal State LA. Loved his work. I think it was the first show at Mocha at Griffith, where I saw his beautiful paintings. He did like circus kind of artwork, you know, and all this stuff, and loved his work. And I said, you know what, that would be great to have you, you know, in our gallery for a show. It was called, the Monster Show was called for the 2,500 years of Columbus. So he agreed with it, you know? And so I said, fantastic. I had my piece. I had my 3 pieces of, you know, of cultural rockets coming across of, you know, City Terrace. Other people had different ones. And then my piece was across from his piece. And he had this, it was like 10 feet tall. By at least.
It was 10 feet long?
It was 10 feet high.
Oh, high.
And it was at least 16 or 15 feet down. And he had, I'm trying to figure it out. Let me just try to say it politely. had a Jesus figure pooping shit in the toilet, and you can actually see the feces.
Okay.
And that was his work. And I figured, like, yeah, if we're going to call the show Monster, that's his work, right?
Yeah.
And in front of it, what was so funny, in front of it, he had this picture of this big joint in front of my paintings.
Yeah.
So I saw the show and go, this is perfect. And then I'm ready, we're going to be opening Sunday night. And I get a call from Sister Karen, Arturo! Arturo! Come down here. We have a problem. We have a problem. So he come in. And there's Ocampos, his wife, Anglo. There's Tomas Benitez, who's a writer, and Sister Karen. They're right, yeah. Explain to me what's going on. What are we going to do? And they go, at the end, at the end of this conversation, my thoughts was like, hey, I'll be down there explaining to people to watch out, just like Mocha does, and everything. We could explain this, sister, no problem. I could be down there. It's just great to have his work, and we agree with it. That's what I thought. So, we left that evening. The next morning I come down, and it's all gone. His work is gone.
What?
His work is gone.
Wow.
And then the LA Times publishes that we censored it. It's like, how would I take down shit work? I mean, how would I take down his work?
Yeah.
And then call it censorship. So I figured, that's kind of like not cool.
Yeah.
You're Filipino, not Chicano. Sister Karen's not Chicano. She's Italian.
Yeah.
And when I met her in '85, I told Sister Karen, you know what? You're not from here, but I know your vowels.
Yeah.
And I grew up with those people that took your vowels. So I respect that. You weren't getting money. I wasn't getting money.
Yeah.
But this man benefited from you. I mean, just like...
So she had it taken down.
No, he took it down.
Do you know why?
He took it down.
Did
Did
he have an explanation? Did he have his...
He took it down because we thought we censored it.
But nobody did.
I was ready the next day to stay there to explain what it is.
So you were
This is 500 years of this, and this is one side of a story. And it was gone.
So Sister Karen was at first upset.
But you were going to blindsided. She was like blindsided.
But you were going to be that person that when you show up to a gallery, they're like, warning, there is some graphic content here. You're about to come in.
I was going to be there.
You're going to see something that is not something you see on a normal day. And you had agreed to do that.
I agreed to do that.
The next day you came in.
Tomas was there. I agreed to do that. We agreed to do that. And the LA Times comes down here. And I don't know why I lost so many.
Who went to the LA Times?
I don't know what. It came out to the LA Times. And I lost some friends saying, like, you censored it. Yeah. And I go, you know what? Why would I even pull down work? You know what? If you think about it, if you really look at this, if this South-Hall Graphics opportunity, you have this awesome opportunity to make publicists your world. That's what he did. And he gone on and he went on. And that at the end, one of the things that I'm working on is why did I leave so expectantly? It's because I just felt like there was a lot of people taking advantage of this nonprofit.
So wait, at one point, now you're saying that at one point you just left South-Hall Graphics. Was it right after that happened? Or
no, it was like about a couple of years after. I think it was 95, after I did my thesis. After I wrote down my thesis. And after my daughter was born.
Okay.
And when my daughter was born, she was born in 94. She was diagnosed with heart defect that needed to be improved for a year. And that changed my whole life.
Yeah.
So there I am looking at a studio, and there I am looking at people helping my child, and knowing sister didn't give really a shit about my artwork.
Yeah.
Persuades me, hey, you're better off teaching.
Hmm.
And
So who told you you're better off teaching?
Sister Karen.
Sister Karen told you. Okay.
You're better off. You're better off giving the world more teaching.
It was also natural growth by that time, right?
It was. It was, because I saw that. Goes, you know what? There's like 6 people around you, mija. And I would want to educate those 6 people.
Yeah.
Than me trying to be who I want to be, which I don't even know who I am. Because back then, like, everybody was all the white gentrification graffiti artists, the white people that took over all of downtown LA, that had fathers that had money and were able to give them the money to have those studios and have that work and have that time to do that work. I don't have that time.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I'd rather have the time to teach a group of 40 to 60 kids a year for the next 30 years.
Wow. And what did you teach?
I taught, okay, this is a good, I'm glad you asked me that, because when I came into this teaching world, I thought like, hey man, you guys know about Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo, and this, and these ladies would look at me. No, we only know about Carl, this guy Carl that does cutouts with fishes and sticks and all that. I go, that was that time. Mm. And I said, you know what? I want to teach where there's no Latinos teaching. It's language arts and history. Just give me language arts. I know I'm going to get the criticism, but I know I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to learn this craft, but I want to teach it because I believe that those people that were helping my child live just to walk, needed to learn to read and write, and do all those things. So I became a English language arts teacher, world history teacher, and USA history teacher. Rafa, it took me 12 years to even consider to teach art because I didn't want to teach art. I said, I'm in a school district. Let's draw the line here.
Yeah.
You paid me federally, just by the state, to teach language arts and history. And then you're coming over because you know I'm an artist. Here's some poster paints and you're that. And I said, You teach what I teach.
Yeah.
So I learned the craft of writing. I learned world history. I taught it. Well, that's why I said otra vez. Sister Karen, otra vez sounds better than self-help graphics, Otra vez is like you keep learning it over and over again.
Galeria Otra Vez. For those who don't know, was the gallery that was on the corner of Gage and Chavez.
Yes. I got in trouble with that. She took me, because in Arizona, she took me, I went with Patsy Valdez and something. We went to an exhibition in Arizona. And I remember writing my card saying like, yes, I'm the director of Galeria Otra Vez. I have the keys. And then Sister Karen said, Arturo! Why you keep saying you're the director? There is no such thing as Galeria Otra Vez. There's no such thing. Yeah, it just sounded good, sister. It just sounded something that you got to keep doing otra vez like Chicanos do. We never get it the first time. The reason why we never get it the first time because we have our freaking peeps always criticizing us. That's why we didn't get it the first time. Otra vez.
Otra vez.
And she just laughed. She laughed and puffed away. It's self-help graphics.
So you taught history for half of that time and art for half of that time?
Yeah, I taught world history, and then I started teaching American history.
Okay.
And then the last 10 years, I took just one class to teach printmaking,
Oh, okay.
art appreciation.
Oh, that's good.
Because I just didn't, I figured like, it's time for me to do some art.
Yeah.
And the only person that really, because it was like 20 years that I was frustrated, my production of art from the time my daughter was born and I decided to become a teacher went from 80 to down to 20%.
Wow.
The only person that kept me alive was a call from a goo.
Wow.
Mento menudo.
Yeah.
Arturo, don't bitch. You're always an artist. You will always be an artist. And those words stuck to me. It's like, you know what? It's true. And that's where I decided to I'll open up an art class. Yeah. And I started doing monoprints and printmaking.
How much were you active with the Mento Menudo?
I went to like 2 meetings, but he kind of knew me, had my number, and I've always been engaged with him to apply. I think he when my last, I did 3 publications when I was at South Park, 4 publications at South. I did Galeria Otra Vez publication in 1991. 92, which 92, I don't have the cover. So anybody who has a cover, please send it in.
Wow.
92 was the riots.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of stuff on that one. Andy Medeza was also part of it. 93 was, I don't know if it was when Cantinflas passed away or something like that. That was that. 94 was the international where I just went international. And then I had funds to do the last piece. In my last piece, I just basically wrote my feelings out. What about the nun? And I wrote my feelings out.
In 1994.
In 1994.
And right now you're working on another.
Right now I'm working on a play.
Okay.
On a screenplay, I got involved with Casa 101.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And because I felt, I think during the pandemic, I was doing Zoom. And
right. You just had a little play produced.
That was a first play. And that was right. And Rafa, this is 30 years of learning the craft.
Yeah.
And when I wrote these stories, these prompts and these stories, I felt like these stories are beautiful more than paintings. Paintings you can hang up, criticize, boom. Yeah. But when you have a story, it affects you.
Yeah.
So I put every attention into the story. And I remember I wrote that story out. And I shed buckets of tears. It was called Good Answer, Papi. It was called Good Answer, and I was happy. It played for 2 nights in April, and of this year, and also I had that fashion show. Gotta stop there. There's a whole story on that, man. Oh my God. The fashion store. The fashion story. Number one, I was just surprised that I was invited.
Yeah.
And they know me, they recognize me, because I figured like I was lost, didn't know who I was, and they just thought I was a young man. And so I figured, you know what, I'm gonna go for this story. And then they list out, here's the requirement. You go into Salvo Graphics and you pick an art that's gonna inspire you. So I figured like, fuck you, I'm gonna pick the shit that I have.
Yeah.
I had like about at least 40 pounds of paper of the same print. And I hated this print. I didn't know what to do with it. What am I going to do with it? I'm teaching. I'm teaching for 30 years and, I'm going to have a good life here. What am I going to do with this? Pounds of paper. So I figured, you know what? Here are my 2 prints and I'm going to shred them and cut them up. and I was trying to find a woman to wear it, so it's like, who can I? I'm trying to figure, like, I know, you're working in middle school, you've been doing it for years, these beautiful, like, gorgeous, beautiful girls, and you're thinking, like, what, like, can I them? They all look good. But I figured, no, my sister's good. So when it was November, and I told Sister Norma, would you mind wearing the shit I do? Because she says, I don't know what you do, but I'll wear it. Okay, so I figured, oh, awesome. So, so I figured, okay, great. She has a sister, and then she has a niece who's going to art school. Let's include her.
Perfect.
So, yeah, so it was a good project. I mean, I put a lot of work into this.
Yeah.
I loved it. I wanted to make my sister look beautiful. I wanted to shred the stuff from self-help graphics, literally. Shredded my life. This.
Destruct and
Shred it in
create.
pieces and create it into a basket using the California weaving technique and all that stuff. And I just wanted her to make her look good. And that was my purpose. So thank God that I was able to do that.
How many prints did you use?
I would say I used about 25 prints.
Out of,
and I still have 20 left.
Okay.
So I can make
some shorts.
another shirt square. I could keep on going. They told me I could keep on going purses. I could make stuff like that. And I'm just like that. I'm just like creative when it comes like that.
Yeah.
Just do one project at a time,
So we are winding down, so I want to get to, like, what are your plans now? You've retired from teaching, and you're writing plays now. And what do you see, like, or what are your plans now?
Well, right now,
any comments are fine.
Well, no, that's good because it's interesting. Plays are so important. So I'm so happy to be part of the Casa 101 Mi Jardín play. It's you really, like, open your heart. I mean, you shred your heart.
Yeah.
And right now, it's been difficult to shred my heart with Sister Karen. Because, here you have a stage, and you have a nun, and you have a Catholic boy. I mean, how much excitement can you have in that kind of dialogue to go on? And that's the difficulty that I have right now. How deep can I go on with this sister? And what can I learn? So I'm thinking, like, what would the audience want to learn? Well, the audience, I would really want them to learn that a vow is a deal. You stick with that deal. It's a community deal. And the second thing about Sisters of Franciscan Nuns is that they do penance. And I said, all the fucking work I did there, it is penance. And not only that, to add to have me being pushed to 30 years of teaching middle school, is the worst penance I can even have.
Got it.
So, I'm trying to develop that. I enjoy my life. I don't know where my world's going to. I have so much work. I don't know how to curate it. I don't know what to do. Oh, I'm sorry. I did know what to do with it. In June, I went to go publicize my play at Cal State LA. And I usually go with a flyer, and I go to the library, and I go, let me check out my thesis. And my thesis was the study of 2 art centers of East LA, And then I couldn't find it. So I only got to go to the second floor. So I go to the second floor, and it's like in a nice room. I open it up, and I'm trying to be secretly because I got to, like, put this flyer in and leave, right? And I find out that there's all kinds of prints from self-help graphics. And so I met this woman by the name of Alicia, and we struck a conversation, and I donated over 1,000, all my works, from 1985 to 1995.
Wow.
To Cal State LA Library.
Wow.
And I made this huge list, and I said, and this is just a donation, because I wanted, and there's a picture. I took a picture of me donating a painting, like all kinds of work. There's a picture of a group of students coming back, and she's happy, she's getting a painting. Because I want students to know how much work it is to do sociology, to do the study of artists. And that's one thing I want to end with, is that I got to learn the behavior of artists and what to look for. That's why sometimes you don't see me in exhibitions, because I'm saying, like, it's going to be shallow. Don't invite me to a poetry reading. I just don't want to be yelled at. Take me to a performance piece. Maybe I'll like it or not.
Yeah.
Take me to a play.
Well, I appreciate your love for art and the art world and the community and everything, and just everything that you've done and are still doing. So thank you for being here. We do have a question that we ask everybody at the end of each podcast, and you've probably heard it before.
No, I don't think I even.
Okay.
And with the point.
If a being from another planet or a spiritual being somehow presented itself in front of you and saw all of the work that you've done, saw all of the prints that you donated, saw all of the time that you put into the community, saw every single hour that you donated to self-help graphics and all the hours of teaching, saw everything that you've been through in your life, they stood in front of you and they asked, Arturo Urista, how do you do it? What would you answer?
Just be tenacious. Dedicated. Looking at my family, I'm raising 2 kids that are on the autism spectrum, and looking at that future and just being aware.
Yeah. Tenacity. Well, thank you very much once again, and we appreciate you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.